Titus Mulligan.
Who's asking?
Someone who knows what it's like to work for himself and not let others feed off the profits of his energy.
Who are you?
We found a note.
What did it say?
It said, "Who is John Galt?"
You know, there's two types of ways, or two types of reaction to Ayn Rand's philosophy of objectivism, which is what this movie, this adaptation of her most famous book, her fictional science fiction Atlas Shrugged, is about. The one way is to look at it as the future of, modern capitalism, where it has to go to save society. And the other way is to not care entirely just about yourself and fuck everybody else in the entire world.
Wait, or the third way, which is what the fuck are you talking about?
Well, I gotta say that, I left high school with one of my regrets was that I never read this book because I was in AP English class for a while, and it was one of the books we had to read. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, they wanted you to read it in English class?
Yeah.
Then you had a teacher who was a Randian, because English professors fucking hate this book.
Well, what's this book called
The thing
again?
is, now that I've seen this movie, I don't have that regret anymore.
Yeah, obviously. It's called Atlas Shrugged, okay? And which refers to... basically, in the myth Atlas, the giant
held the
being
world on
held
his
the world
shoulders.
on his shoulders, and someone saying to him,
which was later immortalized on top of the Daily Planet building.
Somebody wrote a book about that guy? Just that one thing he did? Like lifting up that... I mean, wow. Talk about stretching material.
Well, it's
just
a metaphor.
And one that shows up often in the film in the background. And, everybody has a statue of it on their desk for some reason.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's not very subtle, but it serves no purpose in that context.
Right.
But either way... This is a film that's basically... you know what I felt about this? I felt like this is if Forbes magazine had made a daytime soap opera. What it would be like.
Dude, you have nailed it. That's it exactly.
That summed it up. It's like Saw quality acting,
Yeah. No. It totally felt like a soap opera or a TV movie, and yet it's all this financial stuff. And Coles, I tell you, in the beginning, when they're talking about all the financial dealings back and forth, there's just that point where you can't help but just lose interest. It's like I want to know. When it starts out, I'm like, all right, I don't know about these things. I want to learn. It's just a point 20 minutes in where I'm mentally checking my grocery list.
Oh, sold. You guys sold this movie. Yeah, where do I give my money away? To who? Where's the box office at?
A lot of people are going to come out who are Ayn Randians, who support her financial... what's the word? A utopian ideal, I guess.
So what is that ideal? Because honestly, I'm not clear from watching the movie.
Okay, yeah, let's go there. Her base concept, and this is like me very fresh to this myself, like having researched this online after watching the movie.
Thank God for Wikipedia.
That society and the government does nothing but oppress the creative thinkers of society, and that's what brings down societies, is that the government only seeks for everything to be mediocre, and that functioning society should say fuck anybody who can't support themselves, absolutely, 100%, totally fuck them, and let creative people do anything they want, without bounds of government rules or control. So basically, it's what every corporation wants our society to be like.
Okay, so that's the message this movie was trying to deliver?
Dude, it's Satanism for corporations.
Okay, all right.
Do what thou wilt shall be the whole
Here's the thing.
Of the law.
Let me tell you how this movie fails on that point. Because, sure, when you say it like that, it's like, well, maybe I can see their point. But instead, they make the government people... They make them evil and self-serving.
God, they're all played by character actors who famously have played evil or self-serving
Michael
characters.
Lerner plays nothing but a dick his entire career.
Yeah.
The 40 years he's been acting. Every time you see him, you go that's a bad guy.
Yeah, everybody in here. They even got the guy who plays the Ferengi character from Deep Space Nine to play one of these guys. And you're like, are you serious?
I was like, Armin Shimmerman. Who found him? He's behind somebody's couch somewhere. But the thing is, rather than making it a point of where you feel like, oh, it's the real government who's trying to suppress people who are creative, you go no, it's these evil guys right here that are doing it. So I never felt like it was the entire government. I just felt like it was these manipulative sons of bitches.
Well, the thing is that these people who are supposedly the heroes are just as bad. I mean,
exactly.
Your protagonist of the film actually says early on at one point, and this isn't later he'll learn better. This is their philosophy is he's I don't. The only thing I care about is making money.
Yeah.
And the female protagonist at one point says something like, "No, I don't have emotions. Emotions are useless." And they're not kidding. It's supposed to be a positive thing.
So you don't give a shit about anyone in this movie, and it sounds to me like a lot of these bad guys are kind of phoning it in. I mean, as far as do they even try with the performances to be interesting?
Well, okay, Man, I would love to tell you the plot of this, but I'm not 100% sure.
Well,
all I know is you got a company who they have a railroad, and their railroad has been breaking down because they won't put any money into it.
Yeah, that's the Taggart company with
Taggart Transit.
Yeah, Taggart Transit.
Run by a brother and sister who inherited the business from their father.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me run by a brother. I was like, that's your first problem.
That's just unrealistic.
No, there's only one brother in this.
How's a brother going to try to run any business when it's controlled all by the man?
And now the brother's played by maybe the worst actor I've seen that wasn't in an Andy Sedaris film.
Yeah, Matthew Marsden.
Matter of fact, I'm not sure. I haven't seen him in an Andy Sedaris film.
But the problem with him here is that he's trying to run the company by like, oh, well, if I just, basically put my hands over my ears and go, la, 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 la,
Yeah.
everything will turn out fine. While there's this huge economic crisis going on in America that's not really our America anymore. Like, there's no president, there's a head of state, and there's no Congress. There's a legislative body. And it's like, okay, so something changed.
Yeah,
Give
where
the
is
government
this?
a lot more power, but the movie doesn't have the balls to define it because, let's face it, they can't. It's just this paranoid fantasy that the government's going to completely take over. And
Yeah.
So this is set on Earth 4 or something like
it's
that?
2016, so near future,
Oh, wow.
But so the sister is like, look, you're running this company into the ground. Now there's this guy who is this handsome industrialist who is self-made man.
He's made adamantium. Basically, he, like all the other steel is weak or too expensive, but he's made adamantium. It's lighter, it's indestructible. He's going to use this to make rails, and it's going to bring the company back.
Yeah, it's gonna be exactly. But
Wow.
nobody wants to support it because they say, oh, it's untested, it's unproven.
Well, what it is, it's like that's so good it'll put everybody else out of business.
that's exactly what's going on.
And the brother who's in, he's got a bunch of political cronies as friends. That's why he's just like la la la. He's like, my political buddies will handle this. So they're doing all these deals to try to keep the the other protagonists out of business, like telling everybody, oh, his steel it can't be trusted. It's just gonna melt. You don't want no steel like that. That's forget it. We haven't proved it. So it's all about them trying to use his steel to make these rails so they can get a train on there and run it at 250 miles an hour.
Right.
And once they can do that, they can prove that, like, hey, not only can we do this job, we can do it better. It's going to change the world.
They'll destroy
start
everyone
reliance.
else. Yeah.
Although I'm not 100% sure. I don't think in the original book written in the 50s, the train went 250 miles an hour. It's just when you're doing a movie about like the importance of the rail industry nowadays, you better come up with some reason why it would be relevant.
Like
Well, the
railroads?
industry is
What?
still,
They're still using that system?
No, they are. I mean, really, if you were to cripple railroads, we would be fucked. And, you got rails and you got trucking and shipping, but any one of those you take out, our country would go down the shitter.
That fooled me. Every time I see a train, I'm like, that's old.
Oh, I know. You don't think about it.
Well,
but
you
it really
better
is
like
important.
trains if you watch this movie.
That's
'cause
true.
Every scene in here is either trains or things near trains or people in big expensive places drinking and talking about business.
God knows I love a choo-choo.
Now the thing is with this soap opera of rich people and this financial maneuvering back and forth, which by the way, this is a world where not CNN, but whatever the financial, like the Bloomberg network, plays on every TV you go into. You go into a shitty diner in the middle of Tucson, Arizona.
Yep, and there it is.
And they don't have it on a football game.
Yeah.
They don't have it on sports. They don't have it on ESPN. They got it on financial news on that TV.
Wow.
I'm like, guys, tone it down a bit. You ain't never going to replace entertainment.
They should have had that playing in a titty bar or something.
It's like, hey,
And nobody paying attention to the dance.
move your big old fake boobs out of the way. I'm trying to watch the
I got to see the
ticker.
stock ticker.
Move it, big booty bitch.
Now, while all this is going on, while there's this whole like, oh, the industrialist who's like worked himself up from the his bootstraps and just wants to promote a product that's actually good, but the man is keeping him down because he just is.
Yeah. Well, the man ran out of poor people to keep down, so it's not his turn.
Now he's oppressing other capitalists. That seems realistic. The government's hurting capitalism.
Right.
Okay.
Cannibalizing each other.
You do not come into my office and tell me what you will or will not allow me to do.
What I meant to say was that a committee has decided that allowing men to run your train on that untested metal would violate their human rights.
Are you serious, Mr. Brady?
You can't force men to go out and get killed just for profit.
Put that in writing. That you want to stop your men from working and earning a wage.
Miss Taggart, you don't understand.
Oh, no. I understand perfectly. You want me to provide the jobs, and you want to make it impossible for me to have any jobs to provide. You can do whatever you want with your men, Mr. Brady, but that train will run if I have to drive the damn thing myself, because, Mr. Brady, if that bridge collapses, there won't be any railroad left in existence. But if it does not collapse, no member of your union will ever get a job on the John Galt line.
While this is going on, other people like him are disappearing mysteriously all over the country. It's a mystery.
Yeah.
And the only thing that's left behind when they disappear is a piece of paper or a note on their computer or something that says, "Who is John Galt?" And it's like the central mystery of the film. Yeah. And the only thing that's even mildly interesting at all going on here.
Well, it's
as far as trying to figure out who the fuck that is.
The fact there is a mystery.
Who's abducting these capitalists, these captains of industry, these guys who are visionaries. You know, every time they become a visionary, or even it's like the sister wants to promote this one nerdy guy. He's like, this new division, I want you to head. I'm sorry, I quit. What do you mean you quit? Come on, okay, I'll give you a raise. No. I'll give you a promotion and a raise. No. Tell me how much you want.
Yeah,
I gotta have you.
I write down.
I'm gonna give you a piece of paper.
Want.
You write down anything you write down. I will give you that.
I will suck your dick right here.
Yeah, it stops just short of that, and he goes like, "No, but who is John Galt?"
Yeah,
he's like, "What?"
Now, that's a conversation you think would go on, right?
Right.
But fortunately,
every time
their
it gets
reality
asked,
is edited.
Yeah. When somebody says, "Who is John Galt?" it just stops. It cuts to a new scene and never comes back to it. And the nearest we can tell, there's a guy dressed like the Phantom Stranger that goes up to people talking like Ghostface, like, "Hey, come here. Hey, bud, you, come here.
Freak Andy.
How would you like to quit your job and come work for me?"
Don't be a pussy. This guy seems legit.
No, he looks. Yeah, I can totally trust this guy. Him and that Darth Vader looking mask. Yeah,
funny is,
I want to work for you.
This character who encounters this the most, the female Taggart sister, played by Taylor Schilling, she is so curious about this John Galt character. She actually names her new company she starts, to promote this, to try and basically take the pressure off her family's company, to promote this new train line, the John Galt line, right? She names it that. And yet, every time anyone ever says something to him about her John Galt, she just sits there like they just like she's recovering or something. Like, why don't you ask them what the fuck they're talking about?
Yeah. I mean, before it's like when people leave notes saying, "Who is John Galt?" You are like, "Damn it, who is this?" But when some guy sits in her office and says, "Who is John Galt?" that's when you could go like, "No, you tell me, goddammit, you're not leaving here till you do."
Yeah.
And the thing is, acting wise, most of it's bad, or like they get some really terrible dialogue.
Really,
I don't know what it is. Like over time, the girl who plays the sister, what'd you say her name was?
Taylor Schilling.
I came to like her. I don't know. I was just like, well, I guess she's all right. And then some of the actors you see, is very few that you're familiar to you. Mm-hmm. When you see one who's familiar, you're like, all right, I guess
Yeah.
But some of them are just absolutely horrible.
Well, yeah, it's bottom of the barrel acting on some of them, and even from Schilling, it's like, well, there's points that I know this dialogue is bad, and whoa, is it bad? It's the original dialogue. You still go, look, come on, man, I'm not a child. I can see there was a billion different ways to read that, and you picked the worst possible, like almost nonsensical way to read it. Now, that being said, the director is Paul Johansson, who is not a director. He's an actor who was in like Highlander the series and One Tree Hill.
Oh,
so you're like, okay,
my favorite shows.
And this is a guy who clearly was hired because he was cheap, or was involved because he was cheap, because basically the
he
rights,
wasn't doing nothing.
Well, the rights that the company that had the rights to this, they were about to expire. Yeah. They were like right there, and if they didn't actually go into production, like filming, they would lose the rights to make the film.
He was like, "Hey, dude, what are you doing?"
So they pulled a Roger Corman in the Fantastic Four, basically, and said,
wow.
"We just need to put out something, and then we'll have another 10 years to sit and think about it and see if we want to remake it again."
And you said they spent $10 million.
$10 million.
Yeah, I mean, it shows. At the same time, I go like, well, for $10 million, there's a few shots in there where I'm like, oh, that's kind of surprising. Or some of it was, you know what? At times, it's so bad. I expected it to just stay that bad or get worse. Mm-hmm. And it would do some things where I'm like, well, all right, that wasn't so bad. Or maybe I'm a little bit I mean, I do kind of know what's going on. There's something to be said for that. But then it would go back to things that just made my eyes roll. Yeah. And, okay, Cyrus, is it just me, or did you, like, at several times when I stand up in the movie when the couple, Schilling, I forgot her character's name now.
Sorry, Taggart.
Dagny. Yeah, you're on Dagny Taggart and the industrialist guy who makes the adamantium.
Hank Reardon.
Yeah. Like, they're constantly together, looking at each other's eyes. It was all I could do, just stand up and go like, "Would you fuck already and get it over with?"
It's such a foregone conclusion, and even though like he's this married character and his wife is like the hugest cunt you could possibly imagine. So like, there's no one who would ever do and say the things she did. I don't care what universe you're in, who would not be self-aware that she was a huge cunt.
I mean, it's.
Let me guess, is the Phantom Menace her? Is that what it is?
Almost. I mean, it's classic to the point of where. Even when he says something nice, over there, she's frowning at him, and her mother is frowning at him. They're both being sour.
The best of both worlds.
How dare you? And some other little
wormy guy,
half gay wormy character. Who I don't know if it's her brother, or his brother.
So he's obviously related to the family on some level. But yeah.
And every time he's just like, "That's your problem. You work too much."
Yeah. Well, no, seriously, he's the little.
By the way, can I borrow some money?
What's the guy who sits on Jabba the Hutt?
Salacious Crumb.
He's the Salacious Crumb of this family.
God, if only you were to tell me Salacious Crumb was actually in this movie, I'd go see it right now. I'd leave this review right now.
But like at one point, he gives his wife a really cool looking bracelet made out of this brand new metal. Mm-hmm. It's not like an anniversary present or something. It's just like
hey, this is the cool. First, the first of our metal to roll off the assembly line. This is a real treasure to me, and I made a bracelet out of it. I'm giving it to you.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, great, and practically does everything but just throw it into the fireplace.
She does everything except wipe her ass.
Yeah, the wormy guy is like just flat out goes, man, what a dick.
That's awesome. I can't blame it. I was like, yeah, you're gonna give me some shit you just picked up off the floor and decided to turn it, decided to get all creative on me.
What cracks me up though is like some wormy guy's like, man, he's like flat out saying, you're a dick, man. What an asshole. I can't believe you're so cheap. God. And 20 seconds later, he's like, hey man, I gotta talk to you. Can I borrow like $500,000?
Wow.
It's even worse than that. He's like, I need to borrow some money for this charitable organization. Uh-huh. All right, I'll give you $100,000. I'll write you a check. Don't write a check, because if they see your name on it, they won't take the money.
Yeah, because they hate you that much.
Should be called Assholes the Movie.
Yeah. They need your money, but if they know it comes from you, they won't take it. So.
What's funny is like I mentioned earlier that like English teachers don't like Atlas Shrugged because it's considered to be a terribly written book. I mean, it's been panned critically its entire lifespan.
Then why is it so famous?
Because of the philosophy that it espouses.
It's
got a philosophy of me first, fuck everybody else. Yeah. And it acts smarter than it really is, because really what it does is it ignores what would actually happen if we tried to do live through this philosophy, which is that you would get what we have now, except a billion times worse.
Right.
It was between rich and poor.
It was the Twilight book of its time. You got to have one.
Even Ayn Rand admitted, like, no, it's not that I don't know how to write characters. It's that's not what I'm trying to do. I don't want these characters to be just symbols, and I don't want them to be representative of normal people. They're representative of these ideas, and it's important. And you're like, wait, shut up. Just admit you don't know how to write characters. Like, this is how she's responding to criticism.
I could have wrote something good. I just chose not to.
Yeah, it's not working for Twilight, and it sure as hell ain't going to work for you.
Well, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and here and say that, like, I had a hard time finding anything to really like about this film. I mean, I enjoy discussions. I've gotten to actually enjoy economical discussions at this point because there's been so many great documentaries lately.
Sure.
But this is like the desperate attempt from the corporate right to fight back against the 100 or so documentaries saying, hey, thanks for fucking us for the last 10 years. All they can do is science fiction at this point. That's all they got.
It seems interesting that they're still fucking themselves only because they can't put enough money into making a decent decent movie.
Oh, well, I know,
right?
yeah.
I know, right? Even though I guess a lot of them didn't even want to be involved directly with it. I never said it. I'm just saying. Where's Alan Greenspan? He's like the world's biggest fan of this book. But you know what? There's that one little mystery, the John Galt thing. There's towards the end, it starts getting into some actual science fiction when they discover this secret company that existed that was making this engine that was like this sci-fi engine. Yeah. And they start talking about shit that goes, dude, I'm going to stick with this just so I can see that city from BioShock at the end.
Yeah,
right?
that is exactly what they tease to.
And yet that never, ever happens. And
that's because this is part 1.
Yeah, end of part 1. And you're like, there's going to be a part 2.
Yeah, and they only had $5 to work with after when they got to that point.
I mean, it literally ends with someone screaming, no, and falling to their knees. And you're like, you have got to be kidding me. This is some old bullshit. I'm sorry. Don't fool yourself if you're watching it thinking something exciting is on the way, because it's not.
No. There's nothing exciting. And yet there's something in the charm of how bad it is that kept me from really like thinking like I might leave or rolling my eyes. No, I take it back. I roll my eyes a lot. This movie is for the corporate for the corporate right. It's Left Behind. I kept expecting Kirk Cameron to show up in it at some point.
Wow.
Except it's funny, they never bring up the atheist angle, and yet in the book that's a huge angle.
Is that right?
That it's a economical atheism, basically. You know?
Oh,
yeah. Like what was it? Ego? I can't forget the term, but rationalist morality, which is to say there is no such thing as morality if you don't believe in God. So why should I give a shit about anybody but myself?
Well, then she doesn't understand atheism.
No, she doesn't at all. No.
But yeah, you go through this. You probably, it's a good chance you won't care about what's going on, or you'll be confused about what they're talking about. Like I was for the beginning. Finally caught on to it. It's still not all that interesting, and yet at the end when it did that, like in part 1, I was a mix of mad and also like, well, I want to know what happens next. Which I don't know why. I mean, it is dumb for me to feel that way at all.
Well, let me fill in the blanks for you here. The biggest part of, because if you look at the synopsis online, I read the synopsis of the book.
Yeah.
Everything we've seen was everything but the last paragraph, and the last paragraph was pretty much 70-page speech by John Galt explaining his principles and his belief, which they're planning on splitting up into 2 films.
So there's supposed to be 3 parts of this thing?
It's supposed to be 3.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Talk about some assholes already getting ready to have a sequel.
I know, right?
Without even realizing that the first one's going to be shit.
I was so close to just going, look, I'm going to give this a low rental. I mean, I was even thinking like maybe a low rental.
Dude, you're like rubbing your head right now.
I know, now you're telling me this.
This is like killing you, and you're going to give it a rental?
No, it really comes down, it's like, no matter, despite the fact
got the
that
biggest
I didn't
fucking
hate
headache right now.
Despite the fact that I didn't hate it, it does come down to a technical, some old bullshit.
Yeah.
There's just nothing in it to recommend. It really isn't. Even like to me, with the like, oh, would you guys fuck already? By the time it happens, it's like, I'm over it.
Yeah, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
It was.
It's too little, too late.
That's not sexual tension. That's just something that's not people talking about like money and infrastructure and stuff. That's all it is.
Yeah. By the time it's going that way, because the whole thing with the train, I'm like, all right, well, you got this going. What happens? Wait, you're talking about an engine now? What? I thought it was this other thing. Where y'all going with this? How long is this movie? Oh, it's over.
What happened to the antimantium? When are they going to make Wolverine? Let's go.
Yeah, they're trying to track down like the guy who was the inventor of this engine, for reasons that are not perfectly made clear, when they should be worrying about the whole government trying to shut down their train. And they finally track it to this one guy who ends up being all mysterious. He's like, this is only the tiniest, least important part of a whole nother world that I'm not going to tell you anything else about. It's like, well, that's the climax of the film, like as far as interesting wise. Yeah. And you're like, okay, that's it. That's all you have to offer me.
Yeah,
really is like the tease that's usually what you get at the beginning of anybody else's trailer.
Cyrus, come here. We've heard your reviews. You're very, very good at getting to the heart of the matter. Forget about Corey and those other guys. How would you like to come work for Atlantis?
To be fair, I would say yes, but
He would go, "You can count on my steel."
finally someone who understands me.
Yeah, but Atlantis would be some pervert's basement.
I know, right?
They should save that ending for like the middle of the credits, where you actually have to sit there and wait until something exciting pops up. Just because you read it on the internet, I know that they tacked on an ending somewhere around here. I'm going to wait. It's going to be good, guys. It's going to be good.
Every 20 seconds or so in the credits, somebody goes, money, or
Yeah.
stupid poor people.
We're not going to allow you to run that train.
You can do whatever you want with your men, Mr. Brady, but that train will run if I have to drive the damn thing myself.
What we're doing, my metal, your railway, it's us who move the world.
If you double-cross me, I will destroy you.
To a successful business partnership.
I'll drink to that.